What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Sleuth Intuition Live. Let me know if you cannot hear me. I'm always trying new things, new setups. We're going to do this one podcast style again. My computer seems to work better when I don't use the green screen and all that stuff. So we're going to rock it this way. Today, we are going to do our best to cover Kokomo. We're going to look into strange cases out of Kokomo. We're going to look at missing persons, CSAM charges out of Kokomo, and we're going to focus mostly on the drug-related activity reported by the media over the last about 5-6 years, which is strenuous. And then I'm going to ask for call-ins in regards to the Kokomo crew. I do not know much about it. I know that it's prevalent and it could be extremely related to Delphi. But right now we do have somebody calling in who actually has spent the majority of their life in Kokomo, and their input and their information is going to be extremely invaluable to this live stream. So give me one moment here. We're going to go ahead and test out my new perv blocker. Hello, Purdue. Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me, Sleuth?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Great.
So how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well. So it's my understanding you've lived in Kokomo for quite some time. What is it, 43 years?
Yes.
Okay, are you living there now?
Currently, yes.
Okay, so your information is going to be invaluable to tonight's live stream. Before we get started, is there anything that you want to talk about right off the bat in regards to Kokomo?
Well, just the picture that you displayed. I saw some live chat questioning if that picture of the covered bridge came from Delphi or Flora, but that's actually from Kokomo in the Kokomo Highland Park, that covered bridge.
Correct. Yes, and I'm fully aware of that. I'm sorry if my cover was misleading. What I meant for most people to realize is that the real Kokomo, that beautiful
Oh,
image.
yes. I see what you're
Um,
saying.
correct. So down at the bottom of the image, there's some investigation images and things like that. So my question is, what is the real Kokomo? Is it that beautiful image of the bridge, or is it the chaos that I've been seeing um, all morning long as I kind of investigated into Kokomo?
Well, Kokomo has evolved like many mid-sized towns, and not in a good way, you're right, in the last 5 to 10 years. There's been an influx of drugs, particularly methamphetamine, and there's some reasons why that Kokomo seems to have more of an issue now. And it was believed to be that Kokomo brought in a lot of subsidized housing, and they could get grant money and matching funds to build complexes downtown by putting in a lot of subsidized housing. Now, there was some need, obviously, for the subsidized housing, but it also brought in a lot of Chicago crowd folks because their money would go further in Kokomo being a little more Midwest than a bigger city like Chicago. So we got an influx of people from Chicago and here again more the folks that were needing subsidized housing, but they moved here for it, and we built several complexes downtown. And ever since then, the footprint and the feel of Kokomo has definitely changed.
People forget, but Chicago is about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from Delphi.
Correct. It's about a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah, it's not far at all. Um, when you hear people talk about like the Kokomo crew, see, I don't know much about that. I just think of like Garrett Kurtz and Paladinos and all that kind of stuff. Do you know anything about all that stuff? Have you looked into all that?
I have looked into it, and what I know is there obviously the supposed porn ring has been connected to Kokomo, and people in Kokomo have gotten arrested since the Delphi murder. So it's assumed that they were connected, but also Kokomo has some. Unsavory players, if you will, that made money in the strip joints around
Hmm.
town, and they seem to have influence uh, due to money and drugs and prostitution and here again, there seems to be some potential, all potential affiliation with, like you said, usually those things don't happen in a silo. They're all interconnected.
Hmm. About six different reports that I found today mentioned the Mexican cartels. People are basically running cartel drugs into Kokomo from states like Georgia and other places like that. Is that something you guys have been dealing with there for some time, or is that just something recent?
I would say in the last 5 or 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the Mexican cartels basically running the meth now in the United States, from what I understand.
Yes. We in Indiana have migrant workers that come and assist in harvesting tomatoes. The Rotel and company was based out of Indiana, and then we have migrants come and assist with everything from detasseling Orville Redenbacher corn to just assisting like that. And here again, it was thought that it was easy to cross the border, 10 years ago when they came up. Um, and that's how they kind of infiltrated our area.
Yep. When it comes to the Mexican drug cartels, I really don't think that these borders need to be open. That's something we definitely need to address, of course. But I think as long as I can remember, Mexican drug cartels and the Mexican mafia and things like that have been setting up shop in most small towns across the United States, at least for the last 15 years that I can remember. Is it just something that's happened recently there in Kokomo?
I don't think it's recently. I had the opportunity to ride with a police officer. Um, it was part of a executive group that getting to know the different branches of government and what everybody did and where. And I was assigned a police officer to ride with. And this has probably been about 12 years ago. And
Hmm.
while I was with this police officer, a car was going down the wrong way on a one way. And they had a portable meth lab in the trunk of their car.
Oh
And
wow.
the officer called for assistance, and they chased the car, and the guy got out of the car and fled. And of course the officer shut the door, said, stay in the car for me. And they went they chased the guy down and caught him, and then the car had to go into chain of custody and be locked up on a secure lot and everything. But the smell, they knew right away, because the smell of um, the fertilizer that's used was just
Hmm.
reeking. And but
It's
here again, that
disgusting.
was 12 years ago. So I know meth was, and according to the police, was beginning to be a problem about 12 years ago. And then it has just skyrocketed.
Well, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to play a whole bunch of news clips in regards to this. Are you going to be available to maybe call in at the end of all of this
Sure.
and give further insight,
I'd be
kind
glad
of to
to.
the things that we cover? Because I don't want to give Kokomo a bad name. I don't want to sit here and I don't want people to think I'm sitting here bashing Kokomo because I don't know. But everything that I look into and everything that I've heard while looking into the Delphi case, there's really not a lot of good information that I'm getting out of Kokomo.
Well, and I fear that it's getting this way everywhere. I really do. Sleuth Kokomo used to be a good place to raise children because you were close enough to the big cities to get your culture and your theater. It was drivable Indianapolis and Chicago.
Go to the
Um,
mall.
yes, but however, and close to the universities, IU and Indiana University, Purdue University. Um, but it has really, like I said, been consumed with more shootings and crime, and with the main focus being drugs.
Yeah, I think drugs plays a bigger part in the Delphi case than what we really think. I think it may even be um, the focus, maybe the source of all of the problems. Possibly, the more and more I was watching these videos, watching these drug busts, I found a case that we're going to play today. It was the FBI was actually in Kokomo on the 11th and 12th of February, just before the crimes, raiding a person's home.
Wow.
So we're going to talk about that, and apparently that might be the clarification that some needed to why the FBI showed up to Delphi so quickly, is because they were already conducting operations there in Kokomo. So I wonder if
Was
it's
it
related.
related to pornography?
You know what they really didn't say in this report? It was very hush hush. But
Okay.
what the reporters did do was pull the criminal background of the person that they raided, and it seems to be he has a criminal record of all kinds of things. So we're going to go into that, and then I'll get the opinions of all you guys after that. And then if you want, I'm going to take more calls in towards the end, and maybe you can give me your opinions on the stuff that we covered. Are you okay with that?
Sure, that sounds great.
I would really appreciate it, Purdue. Your insight is going to be very valuable to tonight's live stream, and it already has been.
All
So I
right,
want to thank you.
thank you.
All right. So I'll see you soon here in probably about 30 minutes. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get this show going on here. First, we're going to look into, um, a lot of these cases. This, the town of, it's a city. The city of Kokomo is not very big, but it has all of the problems and maybe more than some of the larger cities in the big city that I'm from. I'm finding things here that you would find in this city. And, we're talking about basically, they call it a city. I think they even call Delphi a city. To me, that's just a small town. So that's extremely troubling if 10 years ago you're growing up in a nice, quiet Delphi like community, and now you're surrounded by meth, you're surrounded by murder, you're surrounded by gangs, and you're surrounded by CSAM. Um, so India, or not India, why did I say India? Indiana seems to be a hub or a place for child predators to target. We're going to cover a case where somebody out of California, San Diego, as a matter of fact, was targeting mainly children out of Indiana. So, what makes Indiana a target? That's a good question. Um, you Indiana residents might want to ask yourself that question, try to find that answer. All right, so we're going to jump right into it. This is going to be just a jumbled mess until we get into the drugs. I have that all organized, dated, and everything. And they spent a lot of time. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of powerful people that were in Kokomo. Thank God they got them off the streets. But we all know the way that law enforcement works. They're extremely reactive, not very proactive. So that means that there's still cells operating in Kokomo that could be related to the Delphi case. There's a lot of talk of revenge murders. There's a lot of talk of hired hitmen. And all of this stuff is actually brought up. So all these people that are involved in these drugs are actually hiring people out of state to come in and take care of their problems. So it's extremely scary. So the first one we're going to look at is titled Police Find Man's Body in a Refrigerator. And this reminded me of another case being covered right now on another channel.
Shocking new details behind the
Ray
disappearance of a Kokomo
Hanish.
man and now an arrest for murder.
According to homicide detectives, the suspect hid the victim's body in a refrigerator for weeks in the basement of his home. RTV6 reporter Jack Reinhart went to Kokomo today, and he joins us now in studio with details of the arrest. Jack.
Jenna, when police went to the home of the suspect last night, they said they were immediately overcome by the odor of decaying flesh. After gaining consent to search the residence, they found the body of Alex Shipp, Kokomo's fourth homicide victim of the year. At the home of 51-year-old Walter Logan, a secret now out in the open. Police say that for several weeks, Logan had kept a body in a refrigerator in the basement of his Northeast Side home.
That sounds like a Jeffrey Dahmer thing to me.
That's what I'm saying.
Police arrested Logan late last night for murder. They say he killed 29-year-old Alex Shipp, who went missing November 8th. On Saturday, Shipp's mother distributed 150 flyers in the heart of Kokomo, seeking information about her son's disappearance. Yesterday, an anonymous caller telephoned Shipp's mother 3 times, seeking a reward for information on her son's disappearance. Kokomo police used phone company records to track down the anonymous caller.
It makes him look like he's possibly involved in this, what he did. And that's been discussed with him. And we told him the best thing he could have done was call the police department or even Crime Stoppers.
He's a nice guy.
News of Logan's arrest for murder and reports of the hidden corpse in his basement sent shockwaves rippling throughout the neighborhood.
I didn't get in a real close relationship with him, but he was friendly. We got along well together.
Good for
There's
you.
enough going on in this area. We don't need nothing like this in the area. A homicide now, it's crazy. It's just crazy. I'm just sorry it happened.
Now, according to a probable cause affidavit, Logan duct taped Shipp about the face, hands, and feet and then went to sleep. Shipp died of suffocation. Apparently, police say the men had a sexual relationship. And it remains unclear tonight whether that anonymous caller who sought a reward instead of helping a grieving mother and Kokomo police solve the case will face charges himself. Jack
Hope so.
Reinhart, RTV6.
Yeah, we're just getting started. I'm starting from mild to intense. We're ending with all the crazy drug stuff. We ended up starting with this: a guy left in the refrigerator. How do you stay in a home knowing that there's a corpse that's with you? I couldn't even do it if the corpse was there for natural causes. Drugs. Yeah, the whole comment that Keegan Klein said made about doing hard drugs, doing hard drugs and catfishing girls along with your friend that lives next door or used to live next door, getting prostitutes with your father. I mean, there's a lot that we don't know about Keegan Klein, and I don't want you guys to underestimate this person. You look at him and you say, oh, well, it's not him. It's got to be this guy. It's got to be Tony Klein, or it's got to be this. You don't know this man. You know what I mean? You don't know what he's capable of. We know that he's been doing this stuff since late 2014. So, I mean, think about somebody like a Ted Bundy. We all know that the appetite increases, starts catfishing. It starts as this, it starts as that. But for some reason, I get incel vibes from Keegan Klein. Like, oh, convincing himself, like, yeah, I'll go out there. I'll let him know, hey, look, I'm not the model. But you'll still like me. Trust me. You know, I think people actually go through life doing stuff like that, catfishing, hoping eventually somebody will like them. But if you're high on drugs, I mean, the rejection can just be too much for you, especially if you're out of your mind already. All right, let's keep it moving here.
Right here is where I got shot. I also got shot back here again.
A 23-year-old Kokomo man survived 2 gunshots to the head, but he is robbed of $300 and his cell phone. Now, he and his mother want the men responsible brought
That's
to
awful,
justice.
Frank.
RTV6's Derek Thomas has their bold accusations, and tonight we are working for you, taking them to police.
The shooting occurred behind this self-storage building. In fact, it took place right over there. The shooting victim is worried about his safety because he knows who the assailants are.
I don't feel like the police are taking it seriously. I mean, when somebody gets shot twice in the head and is alive, that's a miracle if you ask me. And for me to still be able to know who did it and to be able to ID the person that did it and they're still not doing anything, I kind of want to know what's going on.
Mueller identified a 17-year-old juvenile and a 19-year-old adult as the individuals responsible for the attack. Police say they are on it.
Sometimes cases get solved overnight. Sometimes it takes a while for these cases to get solved. I mean, I don't think these individuals are want to come in and actually talk to the police, so we got to go out there and find them ourselves. So I mean, if they're going to hide from the law enforcement authorities, then we got to search out these individuals and find them. So that's what we're doing.
Doctors told Mueller that neither bullet can be removed by surgery. One wrong move by the one in the forehead could cause permanent brain damage. His mother says the 2 suspects have been terrorizing the neighborhood.
One of the gentlemen ran up to their car window because they was not going fast enough across the street after a meeting they attended and pointed a gun at them just in the middle of the street. There's been another woman that's contacted me on Facebook that said that the one ran in her front door after her 14-year-old daughter. Their Facebook pages have guns and gangs and this and that and all the. I don't know what they're capable of.
Arrest warrants could be issued before the end of the day, but police believe these suspects may have fled this jurisdiction. In Kokomo, Derek.
Man, that's crazy. Imagine living in a small, little, tiny city, and you have the same crime as like a large Chicago type. Well, nobody has the same crime as Chicago, unfortunately. That's a special case, but I mean, in that one small place, I'm hearing stories like I do from the city I'm from. That's a good question. Abandoned housing like that is the same problem that plagued places like Detroit. Yep, in Gary. Yeah, city officials like this guy, he gets shot twice in the head. I mean, all you got to do is say, "Hey, that's the guy that shot me. His name is John Doe. He lives on such and such block. Please go arrest him." But I think the officer was saying, "Hey, it's not that easy. Like they're hiding. Like we're trying to find them. They're hiding though." Yeah, and the dude, he got shot in the head twice, and if they remove the bullets, he could become brain damaged. Damn. Talk about he's gonna have a headache every day of his life. What's up, Jeff? Carroll County and Howard County. Yeah, people think that Delphi is like this super nice place too, but it's really not. It's not as bad as Kokomo, don't get me wrong, but it's, it's no walk in the park either. A lot of shady shit going on behind the scenes there. A lot of wannabe gangsters. Those are the ones you got to worry about, though.
Case of an alleged police impersonator in Kokomo. Tonight we are hearing from the alleged victims and the man accused of pulling them over. Jackie Collins and Sammy Irwin were driving on US 931 in Howard County on July 12th when they say a black Dodge Dart pulled behind them and activated his yellow lights. Jackie says the car pulled them over a second time after they pulled away. She says the suspect, Trevor Bontrager, cussed at them. Bontrager is charged with impersonating a public servant. He works for a roadside assistance organization called Guardian Angel Assistance and says the couple gestured at him, so he thought they needed help.
I go past them, they yell something at me. I cannot make it out because I'm jamming, so I turn my music down and I kind of slow down and I look back and I'm trying to figure out if they need help, why they were going slow, whatever.
At the very first, I thought, maybe he needs something, maybe there's something hanging from our car. There's a reason why he's pulling us over. And then, to be approached by someone who says, "What's your problem?" with explicit language, that immediately turns what could have just been a misunderstanding into a potentially violent situation.
We also talked with Alan Edwards, the director and founder of Guardian Angel Assistance, who says his employee is innocent until proven guilty. He says Bontrager is on administrative leave and is not going out on calls until the situation can get sorted out. Police officers located handcuffs, a shotgun, and a pellet gun inside the vehicle. But Edwards says the handcuffs are for novelty purposes.
Girls could have been handcuffed. I think a police impersonator type of personality could have been responsible for the crimes. They're in Delphi. Oh, yeah. Pam, that's awful. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I couldn't imagine that happen. I thank God, every day for the life that He's provided me. The happiness that I have, the lack of pain. I know some people, they live every day in physical pain. They live every day in mental pain. And I just couldn't imagine living life like that. Yeah, 60,000 is a lot, actually. It's a lot bigger than I thought. For some reason, I was thinking 30. It's not huge, but it's still pretty big. Yeah, guardian angels, novelty handcuffs. Yeah, right, dude. Why would you have novelty handcuffs in your vehicle while you're pulling people over at random? I don't know. To me, that seems like a very close call. If somebody's got the balls to pull you over like that, they might be doing something else extra. Maybe he thought the girl was alone. Maybe he thought it was two girls. Jeez. It's unfortunate. Flint Farmer? Who's that, Frank? Who's that, or what is that? That's what I'm saying, Steffa. Like, what are you guys up to? You pulling people over for what? Frank, what is that? What is Guardian Angel? Oh, vigilantes. Beret and suspenders. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's interesting.
A pink balloon ascended, and Jerry McClurkin wistfully hoped that somehow, some way, it could provide the direction she should follow to find her granddaughter Karina, who, if she is alive, would now be 19 years old. The grandmother and her friends walked the streets with placards and a promise.
I'll do whatever I have to help them. I mean, it's raining today and we're out here walking, and we'll walk, like she said, in the snow, rain, I don't care what it is.
Karina was last seen October 11, 2016, walking in the 1000 block of South Washington Street.
It's just tore this family apart. We want Karina back, one way or the other. And I implore you, if you know anything of Karina McClurkin, please come forward and let us know where she is. That's all we want. We want Karina back, one way or the other, so this family can have peace.
McClurkin and her friends believe they've walked 500 miles in and around Howard County on their search. Police have been busy too.
And we've gotten several different locations over the past year that we've searched, and they haven't been fruitful, but that is not discouraging us from continuing to pursue leads, any and all leads, until we do have resolution of this case.
With all this attention and the relentless quest by her family, is there any hope that Karina is still alive?
I'm not sure. I just want her home either way, because her grandmother is suffering. The town is suffering because, you know, nobody knows anything. Nobody's coming forward.
Last thing my granddaughter said to me, and she held my hand, she said, "I'll be all right, Mama. I'll be all right."
McClurkin says her health has deteriorated in the last year, but not her resolve. She says she's going to keep searching, keep hoping. In Kokomo, Derek Thomas, RTV6.
Yeah, that's a sad story. There was an interview by her father that I had on here, but I don't know, it was just too sad. I didn't want to play it and get all emotional. When I hear fathers talk, and you can tell they're like tough guys, you know, but they're letting their emotions get the best of them, it really messes with me. Oh, looks like we got a call. Hold on one moment. Hello, caller. Is this Mikey?
Yes, it is.
How you doing, Mikey? What's on your mind?
Well, I saw that you brought up the Kokomo crew, and I'm going to tell you directly, talking to Tina, talking to Megan, Alan, that whole thing was made up.
Talking to who? I'm sorry?
I said, this whole Kokomo crew, sorry that I'm outside, is a made-up thing that Tina Rodell lied about.
Okay.
So,
can you explain
really
that to us? I don't know a lot about it. I don't know a whole lot about it.
She made a wild allegation about her daughter being involved in the Delphi case. She sweared that Megan had earrings that belonged to Abby, which came out to be false. Basically, a lot of things that have been rumored in this case have come out of Tina Rodell's account. And
is this the one? Is
a
this
lot
the
of YouTubers and
Facebook?
everybody else.
Is this the Facebook back and forth where she's talking about her daughter coming home and she can barely walk and she's like beat up and stuff?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I know a little bit about what you're saying.
I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm just telling you, for anybody that's watching this, that this whole Keegan crew or anything on it, it has nothing to do with Delphi. It's not really connected to the theory with Derek and all, and Garrett Kurtz. I hope this helps whatever you're trying to go with future-wise. I just decided it's kind of my turn to say anything. I'm the guy that most people know, Mike Cunningham, the troll, the one that bugs Green a lot. Sorry you guys can't see my face right now. I was hoping I can give my time and give my thoughts about Delphi with you, because I
Yeah, I
have
know you,
watched
Mike.
enough with you.
I remember you
So,
talking with, I think, Bruiser, I believe.
Bruiser, Nick, no, basically everybody, believe me, I can't watch the chat, but everybody in the chat knows who I am. Overall, this is what I'm hoping that you and the rest of the YouTubers can do. And I used to say stick to the facts. Now I'm just going to change a little bit. If anyone's really serious about this case of trying to be solved without trying to get conspiracy theorists in, go back to the beginning. Like, just the very beginning. We have 5 years of this. There's enough history on this case that you can actually fact check this thing. The main thing that I want, hopefully next time we talk, because I don't want to take this live away from you, I would like to have a little
You're more than
discussion.
welcome to be here.
Okay. My main discussion I want to go with you and hopefully other people, and I'll rewatch the replay, is about how these officers and a former DA, Ives, all have said that they have most likely had the killer meet a cop. Now, as time goes on with other officers they don't meet, they use the word interview. The recent one with Carter that just came in, and all Carter did was, I'm like deflected off there. So I call it is, I don't care who's listening, even if it's the family. If they really are serious about knowing the answer on the case, and it is Carter that knows, people got to figure out who the cop is.
So you're under the impression that the killer
I have an
actually is
idea
already,
who
he's
the
been
cop
interviewed.
is.
So
And
are you
I'll
referring
give the hint
to,
on it. You've heard it enough. I know that
are you,
voice. I know that voice.
go ahead.
Yes. Not Klein. I'm saying is it's not referring to Klein. They talked to somebody else. Like, if it's who I think it is, that's the cop, when he gave it out, that's why I quote Lee, we're doing it. I think you would know who I'm talking about. But I'll point blankly say it. I believe it's Tobe. I believe Tobe met the killer. And the reason is, why would you emphasize and tell the public and the news reporter lady, I think it was Ashley, the emphasis, I know that voice. I know that. You know what I mean?
I remember that.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm. Do you think a cop is
I'm trying to
involved
let
in the cover-up?
you talk.
Yeah, we got a really weird delay.
But what I'm saying, but you see what I'm saying? How everything is fitting in? And think about this. Toby's going to be leaving in 1 year. Fact. I think it could be more. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can bring this up. Yes, I'm saying a cop is involved. I'm saying Tobe is that cop that met the killer. Don't know if you can hear that part.
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Oh, I know it is. I'm covering my mic. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear the whole time.
So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I don't think you can hear me, though.
Oh, wow. That's weird. We were just talking perfect.
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Oh, you got me loud and clear now? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know if people could hear me or not, but okay. I wasn't sure because I can't tell. But yeah, that's I can barely hear you. It's like going in and out.
Yeah, you have a
or
weird
there's
like
no talk.
you have an echo. I think it's because either you have the volume too loud
Okay.
or you don't have headphones in or there's just like an echo and a
I'm,
weird delay.
I'm gonna like kind of like leave it on thought and then listen to what you have to say in chat because I think I can hear you that way.
Yeah, and if you can find some headphones and you want to call back in, Mike, that'd be awesome because it sounds like you might know. I don't know anything about this whole Kokomo crew thing. I just hear a lot about it. And I know that it's connected with Paladinos and Garrett Kurtz and that whole stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it. So if anybody does know about that, your input, is going to be valuable tonight. So if you want to call in, you're more than welcome to.
They found the 17-year-old's body near a bike trail. That discovery was made today. The city sharing this image of her with us a month ago when she was first reported missing. Rachel Krause spent the day in Kokomo and has an update on this investigation for us now.
Police say someone was on the trail Monday afternoon just off of North Washington Street in Kokomo when they saw something odd in the brush about 10 to 12 feet back. When investigators arrived, they found a 17-year-old teenage girl dead. Police identified the girl as Mia Rails. She had been reported as a missing runaway child to police a little more than a month ago by her mother, who told investigators then that Rails had never left home before and that it was unusual for her not to contact her mother. An autopsy conducted by the Howard County Coroner's Office found no apparent trauma to the body. Kokomo police declined to say if it's investigating Rails' death as a homicide, calling it an open investigation.
The cause of death is pending through comprehensive toxicology report, so we're waiting for those tests to come back to determine the actual cause of death.
Major Brian Selden says those tests could take weeks to come back. Still, Selden says this kind of death is unusual for the area.
It's unusual to find a body anywhere, but to the family, it was probably traumatizing to say at least, and to the person who found the body. So we don't normally see this every day, and just want to say prayers out to the family.
Rails' death is being treated as an open and active investigation. Anyone with any information about what may have happened should contact Kokomo police.
Do we have any updates on that? Are you saying that she overdosed? I know that we were worried. I was extremely worried because while I was looking into the JP thing, he was running around Kokomo and Peru. He was on foot. He would literally walk. He would catch rides and walk. He would do all the strange stuff. And this girl came up missing. So this was extremely important to me. I was looking at it, but I never found an update. How did she die? Does anybody know? Indiana seems like a good place to hide, especially if you're used to the backwoods and you can live off the land and you can survive in the cold weather. I mean, it seems like you can hide out there. Wow. Yeah, Jeff, are you from Kokomo? I know you're from Indiana. I just don't know what part you're from. I think you said what? Logansport or something? Yikes. I did French. I just did a show about it. It was actually one of the last lives I did was about arson. Mainly in Flora, but in the surrounding areas. Flora, Delphi, whatever. So you're saying this Tina person that you guys are referring to is no longer living? Yikes. Or are you referring to the person that died here in the report? Oh, you're from Florida? Okay. Yeah, I remember Ron Logan saying that in an interview with those two ladies. That was a great interview. They did a great job. Yeah, you got to get out of the city. Eventually, the goal is to get some property, um, get a nice little house outside of the city, and just live it out. Live the rest of your days out. Okay, okay. From Bloomington, huh? Sup, Stephanie? Yikes. She gained too much notoriety. What's up, Jim? Yeah, it's all rural. Yeah, you can pretty much go anywhere rural and you're going to find meth. You can thank the Mexican mafia for that. The drug cartels and all that crap. It's just too easy here. Nobody's cracking down on that. And it's unfortunate because if the Delphi case is a meth field case, meth field murder, it's almost like law enforcement's responsible, or the current political climate, I guess. They would be held responsible for that crime. Yeah, Florida's right. Florida's right there. Is Flora is that Carroll County? No. What's going on with that, Purdue? Do they mention Indiana? Okay. Thank you, Jeff. That's very possible. Yeah, that makes sense. Connection of Ron Logan, Delphi murders, and the Flora fires. Sorry, you got to get the heart. Whenever you get the heart, that means that your question is highly confusing to me and strange. Tom Arnold, huh? That's crazy. Creepy college and drugs. Yep, Colt, you're right, because the Mexican mafia or the Mexican drug cartels are making this a really cheap crap. I was watching a documentary on it the other day, and they're making it in bulk, and they're just shipping it, to every small rural area in the United States. So people don't need to. Before it was like biker gangs, the biker gang would move into a small town, rent a trailer, cook a whole shit ton of meth, and then make a ton of money and then bounce. And then another biker gang would come in and do the same thing. Now it's not bikers. It's like small time hoods connecting with the Mexican mafia and drug cartels and MS-13 and all that stuff. And they're making deals. And they're actually probably getting some protection as well. Well, Jeff, yeah. Well, you definitely seem to know what's going on there. So your input's going to be valuable as well. So I thank you for that. Well, because of time, let's keep it moving.
To know how a woman wound up dead and a man held hostage in a bathtub.
It started with calls of shots being fired. News 8's Sierra Hignite has the latest on the investigation. Sierra?
Yeah, that's right, you guys. So the call, like you said, Phil, it came out last night around 6:30. That's when police discovered all of this, when they went to the apartment on the 700 block of South Cortland Avenue for that shots fired call. Now, that's where they found 25-year-old Lachey R. Young Bear dead in front of the apartment. The man they found inside the home told police that he'd been tortured and held hostage for 11 days. Connor Alcala and Mark Pruitt live in the top floor of the apartment that sits behind a home on South Courtyard Avenue. Alcala said he heard a loud noise and went outside to investigate.
Our downstairs neighbors started arguing, and then I heard some scuffling. And so at that point I thought, well, maybe it was a gunshot.
That's when he walked outside to find the body of Lachey Young Bear in the front yard. He said he checked the apartment downstairs.
I called out.
Damn. Showed the blood and everything.
Anybody in there, nobody answered.
When police arrived, they found a 24-year-old man in a bathtub with tape on his mouth and tape wrapped around his wrists and ankles. The man told police he was held against his will, beaten and burned with hot water by people that he and the other victim knew.
So there was no idea in our minds that there was somebody being tortured down there.
The two men say they didn't know the people who lived below them, but that they often would have parties with people constantly coming in and out.
There's been fights and stuff ever since they moved in, so it wasn't nothing abnormal, but they played their music every night. I mean, we just got used to it.
The men say they had no idea what was going on just under their feet.
I feel like we could have been more vigilant when we weren't.
That could have been one of my best friends down there.
It was.
And, that's something that we just don't take lightly.
An older couple used to own the property, but neighbors say things started to get out of control after the husband passed away from cancer and the wife moved out of state, and another contracting business took over the property. The day that the man claims he was taken hostage was also a day that neighbor Shirley Haygood remembers vividly.
11 days ago, I was woken up in the middle of the night to 7 gunshots. And there were policemen out patrolling the area, and they stopped at that particular house.
Police have not released any suspect information or confirmed if any of the victims lived in the apartment. Anyone that knows anything is encouraged to call Kokomo police immediately. Reporting.
Wow. This is part 2 of that same story here.
Arrests made in a bizarre kidnapping and homicide case out of Kokomo. Now the main suspect in that case faces more charges of kidnapping and torturing 2 other people. Kokomo police say Troy Wilson is now charged with kidnapping, beating and torturing 2 additional victims last fall. He's also charged with torturing and raping a woman in the winter of 2019. Police have also charged 3 others, Jamie Travis, Amanda Bogue, and Brittany Causey, in these new torture cases. Officers discovered the new alleged victims while they were investigating an incident from 2 weeks ago. In that case, a woman was killed and a man told police that he had been held and tortured in a bathtub for 11 days.
Damn. They tortured this guy for 11 days. That shit is shocking. Like, imagine your hands being duct taped. Like, you're lucky you didn't lose circulation. Could have lost your hands. There's a lot of rumors going on about Derek German. He's the source of the whole revenge theories. And I think Cheyenne also mentioned seeing him and looked like he was doing a drug deal or whatever. So there's a lot of information. None of it's good, really. It's probably why he's laying low. Don't blame him. The guilt. What? What was he doing in your backyard? God, that's horrible. I mean, it'd be really sad if Kokomo was like your home and it was once this really nice place and then it just turned into a shithole. That'd be pretty depressing. This next one we're going to go over is actually a case that I went over not too long ago regarding somebody at Kokomo. Her name was Crystal Sharika Scott. I don't know if you guys remember me covering this case somewhat. She was the one making those crushing videos. And we were looking at her and the profile in regards to Delphi and trying to gain some insight. But I found a new video with her, and it kind of gives more information in regards to the internet sleuth that basically busted this chick. And she wasn't just an internet sleuth. She actually went out there and like did some physical investigating. And she scanned one of the animals that she found on the property that she suspected was one of the missing animals. She put this whole theory together, and she scanned the RFID chip that was in the dog and was able to verify along with some other proof. So the FBI didn't solve this case. This lady did, an online sleuth. What she did was extremely dangerous. She actually had an encounter with this person prior before she knew she was the one involved. So yeah, you got to be very careful.
Paint a gruesome picture of what happened inside this Kokomo home. 19-year-old Crystal Sharika Scott is accused of torturing and graphically killing cats and dogs by hanging, skinning, and other means, and posting images and videos on social media depicting their deaths. Scott was arrested Tuesday after the FBI raided her home, removing numerous animal parts and skulls. According to charging documents, Scott admitted to torturing and killing animals. She told agents, quote, her good side loves cats and dogs, but her bad side tells her to commit acts of animal cruelty.
Said I had neighbors, I had people reaching out to me.
This Kokomo woman, one of many internet sleuths across the country who led authorities to Scott. In April, she went to a field across from Scott's home to scan a dead dog for a microchip.
And it was a decapitated dog. Also had a foot removed off of it.
She says Scott approached her saying she was shocked anyone would do anything like that. The woman would soon learn that Scott had many aliases and used social media to look for people trying to find good homes for pets they had to give up. Court documents allege an hour after someone gave Scott 3 cats, she posted a video of hanging and strangling a gray kitten. Kokomo police were called twice to Scott's home, the first time seizing multiple deceased animals and body parts, including 2 cats in Scott's freezer. Scott told police the animals were dead when she got them. Unaware of the FBI investigation, Kokomo police were called to Scott's home nearly 2 months later on a report of possible animal cruelty, but nothing came of it. As for what this animal advocate would like to see happen to Scott,
I think there must be a mental health issue that causes anyone to do that, and I'd like to see her get the help that she needs, but not be able to ever be around animals or children or anyone that's vulnerable that she could hurt.
One of the most twisted stories I've ever seen in my life. So just imagine, okay, you're getting booted out of your apartment. You have this beautiful cat or this dog that you've had for a year, but the place that you just found won't allow animals, or the friend that you're living with, already has animals and you can't bring in new animals. So you put on Facebook or you put out there on Twitter something like, hey, looking for a good home, in a rush, please take my animal. And here you get this nice young lady. Oh, I love animals. I'll take them off your hands. Don't worry about it. It's going to a great home. 2 days later, there's a crush video uploaded and sold online of your animal that you love dearly, but you just couldn't take with you. How sick is that? That's some of the sickest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. And it didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice. She was making a living out of it. Now, my question is, who's creating the demand for that sick shit?
Acted quickly to arrest the man in a brutal robbery and murder. The man who died's friend tells us that he lived just long enough to give police a name. Eyewitness News reporter David McAnally found neighbors grieving the loss of a good and good-hearted man.
Police are still investigating the murder committed with an aluminum baseball bat, the victim's bat that he kept as a trophy above his couch from his softball days. Porch lights on at the house where William Hewlett found his friend of 30 years.
I reached over and turned the light on, and then I saw pools of blood.
Saw 60-year-old Paul Andreas across the bed.
His eyes were swollen, almost shut, blood everywhere. And I just told him, come on, I'm taking you to the hospital. He's going to argue with me like he always does.
He tried to put on a shirt, he says, but collapsed. Hewlett called 911.
He was just a good man, good heart. He'd give you the shirt off his back. It's just so unfortunate. He was very, very sick.
She says her longtime next-door neighbor, with his family in this recent photo at the hospital, suffered severe breathing problems.
And he wore an oxygen tank on his back, and he was helpless, actually. It was very unfortunate.
But even as he lay near death with that severe head trauma, he spoke to police.
He told them who it was, and he told them what he did.
With the last of his strength, Paul Andreas identified this man as the suspect, 37-year-old Trevor Bean, who lived one block over, caught a short time
hiding in
later.
plain sight.
He told him he took $2,300.
Suspect and the victim knew each other for years. Family says Paul had no fear of Bean. Court papers allege Bean had had a drug problem.
Drugs, as bad as they are, it's just one of those things. You have no control over your thoughts, your body. All you're thinking about is getting that next high.
They said Bean just seems so clean cut. It's a big loss for you, I'm sure.
Huh? Well, it's a friend I see every day, and now I don't. So.
Neighbors say the suspect had a child and also lived with his mother on and off, just a block away from the victim's house. Back to you.
Yeah, it's awful. He already had kind of a really hard life, and this guy who was a friend of his seemed like a normal person to everybody else, clean cut, but drugs, you know, he had to have his drugs. Yeah, who's creating the market? Apparently, it's a sexual fetish. So, what a lot of women do in foreign countries is they make these videos where they're like dressed kind of skimpy and they wear high heels and they crush like mice, apparently, is the thing. But here in the US, it's apparently more disgusting, and we're dealing with the same people that are looking at the CSAM are the same people that are looking at this kind of shit. And you never know. You could be your neighbor. It could be your strange brother that never comes out of his room. Go smack that dude. Yep, formaldehyde. Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of gun cases there. A lot of unsolved murders, killings, shooting deaths. Thanks, D. Well, I don't know. Why don't you? What can we give him a shout out? What's the name of his channel? We can give him a shout out. I mean, I don't have the biggest audience. It's not a game playing audience, it's more of a true crime audience. But yeah, we'll give him a shout out. Isn't Cheyenne? Doesn't she work in a funeral home? Oh, there you go. Yep, Cheyenne. Yeah, all the articles I found on her, she's working in a funeral home. Gives her access to embalming fluid. Interesting. Oh, that's creepy. It's got the texture of conditioner. It's too much information. My imagination is just too detailed. I can almost feel it. I love my dogs. Like I went on a walk not too long ago and my neighbor was out. He wasn't really my neighbor. He lived like down the street. And he was like in his garage and he was all drunk and he had his dogs out. And we got into this big altercation because his dogs like were off the leash and they came like right up to our dogs and we're just trying to walk. But our dogs don't play nice with other dogs. I mean, they do, but not if the dog doesn't show restraint, you know what I mean? So they're getting all worked up and it just turned into this big ordeal. It's kind of frustrating. It's hard to talk to somebody that's just completely drunk out of their mind. At least I think he was drunk. Usually if it's nighttime and you catch me in my garage with the garage door open and a bunch of dogs in my garage, it's because I'm drunk. Later, French. Thanks for coming. God bless you. Rush. That's interesting. Look at all this information we're collecting. Is that Holder? Levi Holder? Oh yeah. That where they dip it. Yeah, that's like they do that. It's like PCP, I guess. I remember that when I was a teenager. I remember going to this crazy party. I was way out of my league at the time, and everybody was trying to get me to smoke this crazy shit. And I was like, nope, not going to do it. Nope. I think people still do it. Yeah, there's something up with that, Jeff, for sure. I'm not going to go out there and make any accusations, but something's up. Yeah, nobody. You probably got it. You probably got all the stories. Hello, Purdue. Is that you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome back.
Thanks. Just a couple data points. I was going to say, Sleuth, when you talked about the Kokomo crew, I think Frank Meister probably has some more specific information, but Kokomo is connected several ways through the different players in Delphi. GK, I believe, has family in Kokomo. And of course, we know TK works at Chrysler plant in Kokomo. And I believe KK, when he was arrested, he was at his girlfriend's house in Kokomo.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some rumor that the white vehicle with paper plates that was parked came from Kokomo. Now, the plates weren't Kokomo, but it came from somebody that the vehicle was borrowed from in Kokomo, is the rumor mill on that. So, there's a lot of ties not only to the meth distribution between the different Carroll County and Tippecanoe County and Howard County. But there's also going to be family ties, I think, and there already are family connections, girlfriend connections, drug connection, porn connections. All Kokomo's involved, and probably per capita, Delphi's small, but all the crime that's and drugs that are going on there, Kokomo has the same, only more concentrated because we have more people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Delphi is definitely, they say it's like the safe place, but it really never has been. I've been looking into it for some time, and it's really never been like this home sweet home type of place. Do you agree?
Agree.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I was glad to hear that the FBI is tracking or logging this animal cruelty, because 30 years ago here in Kokomo, it's outside of city limits, we were building a house, and my husband would come out late evenings with my two boys, who were, they were probably first grade and third grade, and do some finish work on the house, the trim. The house was already heated, but he'd come out late before we moved into the house to finish up the trim work. And he left one evening, finished up around midnight, and came back to where we were living while we were building the house. And in the morning, I got a call from our bricklayer, and he says, we've got a problem out here. And I thought he meant he needed more supplies or something. And he said, your
Mm-hmm.
windows are broken. And
Oh man.
I'm like, what? And come to find out, there were 3 houses, new houses under construction in this particular development, and all 3 of them got vandalized. And the sad thing was, we had already moved our the boys' pet kitten out to the new house because we had a litter box in the basement and it was heated. And so when the boys would go out with my husband, they'd, play with the cat and stuff. But unfortunately, they stole some tools, broke some windows, but they killed our cat. And at the
Why?
time, 30 years ago, I mean, there were fingerprints. I could see fingerprints on things they picked up, but the police didn't, it was like, well, we're sorry about your cat. But they tortured the cat. They sawed it up with a circular saw that my husband had in the basement.
Are you
And
serious?
yes. And to this day, my boys do not know that happened to our cat
Yeah, don't
because,
tell them that.
at the ages they were, I just said the cat got loose and,
If anybody could do that, they're capable of killing a small child. They're
well,
just
guess what?
practicing.
Guess what? The police told us that they thought they knew who did this. It was a pair of brothers from an affluent family that were involved in drugs, and they did it. They stole some tools to, hawk for some drug money. Plus they were whacked out on drugs too. But the police told us they thought they knew who did it. No arrests were made. They weren't tracking animal cruelty back then. But do you know if it was who the police told us it was, that one of the brothers shot their mom in the head and was arrested for that probably about 3 years later.
There you go. And that's why the FBI is tracking these crimes, because they know what it means.
Oh,
They know that this animal torture and
yes,
animal cruelty is a precursor. They know it. It's
100%.
um so they've been doing it now for about 4 to 5 years. So I mean the data, eventually they're going to have all the data they need, and they're going to stop a lot of these serial killers before they get a chance to get started. And I think that the Delphi killer, if he was practicing or kind of testing the waters, he may have been either doing arson, maybe involved with the flora stuff, or in animal cruelty stuff, torturing animals and things like that.
I think so too.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's a great point.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate that they weren't able to stop it.
Yes, exactly. And back then it was not seen as the crime that it should have been seen as. I mean, they killed my kid's pet, and they torched. It was a horrific, death.
Yeah.
What they did to that cat. And like I said, I'm serious. My boys are grown now, but to this day, they did not know this story
Yeah.
of what happened to our cat. But
That's awful
it is
to know
awful.
that.
It's awful. So, yeah. But I am glad they're tracking that, because there's a definite correlation that they know, the FBI knows is there. And
It's literal time travel.
yes,
Their ability to predict crimes with actions like this, with the dark triad, animal cruelty, the urinating after 12
12.
years of age,
Yes.
stuff like that. So they know that they can peek into the future or even into the past with that type of behavior, and your story kind of backs that up.
It does. It does. Here again, looking more at a proactive approach rather than always reactive after the fact.
Hmm. Proactive. That's the one reason that I really respect the FBI, is that they try to be proactive. A lot
Yes.
of state and local law enforcement, they're just guns that you call. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yes, I do know. Well, I don't know if Frank Meister wants to chime in on specifics on the information he has on the Kokomo crew, but like I said, I know it's all interwoven potentially. So, but I don't know, as Frank knows, he knows specific names and how the Paladinos and all
Hmm.
that's intertwined.
Well, at any point, if you want to call back in, you have another point you want to bring up, Frank, if you want to call in, this goes for anybody else that's out there. If you have any information on the so-called Kokomo crew, or anything like that, feel free. You're more than welcome to use the link that's been posted, and chime in and provide your input.
All right. Thanks, Sleuth.
All right, Purdue, I really appreciate it. It's meant a lot to me tonight. Okay.
Sure. I enjoy your work. You're doing great things.
Thanks for your help.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good night.
Night.
A man accused of grooming kids as young as 6 years old to make child pornography is under arrest. Police in California identified more than 80 child victims across the U.S.
And unfortunately, we're learning this morning some of those victims are right here in Indiana. Matthew is in studio with us this morning to give us more about the investigation, and just so troubling and disturbing for parents who have children who feel like they can be online.
Exactly. And it's very shocking, and parents, we want to let you know this is an important story to listen out to make sure especially that your child is not a victim. And we're now learning this morning that Sacramento County Sheriff's Office has arrested 24-year-old Demetrius Carl Davis. As they just mentioned, he's suspected of pretending to be a young girl online named Lizzie in order to groom children and have them take part and produce child pornography. Now, so far, deputies tell us they have identified more than 80 victims across the U.S., all ranging in age from 6 to 13. 11 of those victims, we're told, are right here in Indiana, and they say that is the most of any state so far in this investigation. And 7 of those victims are from Kokomo, ranging in age from 10 to 13. One of those victims, however, has not yet been identified. And there are also 2 victims in Indianapolis, aged 12 to 13, and 2 in Northwest Indiana, ages 6 and 11. Meanwhile, overnight, we got an interview with Sergeant Rod Grassman with the Sheriff's Office in Sacramento County. He believes Davis could have spoken with more children, and he's asking parents this morning to check your child's electronics and be on the lookout for that name, Lizzie.
Every electronic device that's connected to the internet is like an open window to the entire world. You have no idea who is talking to your child. In this particular case, this suspect posed as a prepubescent, an 11-year-old girl named Lizzie, and would befriend people.
Hey, you heard it right there. And guys, still so many questions to be answered this morning in this case, as the Sheriff's Office there believes there could be more than 15 to 20 other victims internationally. And meanwhile, as for Davis, he's in Sacramento County Jail this morning facing charges of child sex abuse.
Why Indiana? Like this isn't the only case where somebody's been like using CSAM and stuff like that, catfishing and sextortion. That's made major headlines over multiple state lines. There's another large case too, and it involved Indiana as well. I just don't understand. Yeah, it doesn't get any worse than that guy, Vanessa. Oh, New Zealand. Yep. I know what you're talking about. Six years old was the youngest. And I wonder if that's what happened here with Keegan Kline. His whole Emily Ann 45 bullshit. What if he was really patient? You know how normal people, they go to their 9 to 5 and they put in effort and they try to achieve their goals. And, once they achieve their goals, they keep climbing and climbing and climbing. What if this was a job to Keegan Kline? He just kept getting better and better and better at what he did. And eventually he just needed more. It's the whole Ted Bundy thing. What's up, Chopper? Wow, that's horrible. That name Big Daddy too. Strange. All politicians. Yep, Nassar. Oh man, it's a whole nother rabbit hole. Hey, Sonny, how you doing? How'd your show go? Sorry, I didn't know you were having one today. Happy birthday to Ray. Yeah, so many missing kids in the United States. And I chop that up to just too many parents working, in America and the world. We're just all slaves. We're all so busy. Um, for example, I went to pick up my daughter's friend. She's like, "Hey, Dad, can you pick up my friend?" Her mom says, "Okay." So I went over there to pick up her friend, and she's like, well, she has to wait till 2 because she doesn't want to leave her little brother there for too long. I was like, "What? How old's her little brother?" "Oh, he's 11." Like, I would never leave my daughter alone at that age. I don't even leave her alone at the age she's at now. But I don't judge other parents. That's just me. But I still felt bad. That I feel bad. Because some parents have to do what they got to do. Do you leave your children at home unattended, or do you not have a home? You have to make a choice at some point. And it's just that way for too many people, Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, why Indiana? All these cases of CSAM, why are they targeting Indiana? Yep. I teach my daughter the same. She even carries mace to school. She's not allowed to. Of course, she'll never mention that to anybody ever. But yeah, she carries mace. It's mainly just for her little walk to the bus stop. That way, when she comes running back home saying, "Daddy had to mace somebody," when I go up the street to find who I'm going to bury, it'll usually be the guy rubbing his eyes. Yeah, we need to do a deep dive into that Nassar shit. Man, Indiana. And I don't want to put Indiana out there, but it could be every state in the United States, unfortunately. But I mean, there's just something special about Indiana. Something's going on there. It's just not quite right. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was a kid, I used to walk about 2 miles to school. I didn't even take the bus, and we lived in a really bad city in the pretty much the worst part of the city. But what's strange is usually when you live in a part of the city like that, that's predominantly Mexican, children are usually safe. I don't know why. Um, I mean, they got their incidences, but usually people, when I was a kid, would just walk around our neighborhood. It was a Mexican neighborhood, super ghetto gang, a lot of gang activity. Yeah, we just walked. Nobody bothered us. We knew stranger danger. If we saw a creepy van, we just take off running. Stuck together, stayed in groups. Yep. Walked to school, came home, stayed alone, 12 years old. Yeah, it was very strange. Nowadays, I would never do that with my children. Thank you, Sonny. I appreciate your support. No, I did not. Losing control of all of these comments. They're just coming too fast. Yeah, Vegas is pretty strict. Somebody told me to put out my joint when I was there at the Canelo fight. I snuck out of the back of my building and I rolled a little joint and I was just hanging out there and somebody came and they're like, you got to put that out. You know, we're going to call the cops. Like, what? That's never happened to me. I went to a small town and rolled a joint in the middle of a bar and passed it around all the patrons and didn't get kicked out or in trouble. Go to Vegas in the back of a patio where nobody is at like 1:30 in the morning and somebody tells me I need to put that out or they're calling the cops. Strange. Just depends on where you're at, I guess. Kitty Knuckles. You better get yourself a baby Glock.
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News at 6 o'clock starts now.
FBI agents took over a Kokomo house. The investigation there lasted for hours as they hauled out boxes of evidence out of a home.
And here they made an arrest of one person.
This was on the 11th, just a few days before the Delphi case
We've learned
took
today
place.
that he has a long criminal history. Kerry Klein has been on the scene in Kokomo throughout the day and has more in our top story tonight.
Yeah, we first broke the news for you this morning around 9 o'clock when we sent out a push alert through our mobile app, immediately followed up by the first photos and details from the scene here on the northwest side of Kokomo. But what happened next even left some neighbors scratching their heads.
Yeah, make sure you guys hit that like button.
I mean, to say that there's so much stuff going on in this town.
But even Mike Rodkey was surprised to learn that one of the residents of this home on Judson Road on Kokomo's northwest side was arrested as FBI agents wrapped up their investigation.
Not too much. I mean, I go this up and down all the time going to Kroger's, but I mean, you see a lot of cars in there, off and on a lot, so.
Elliot Schaffner was taken away in handcuffs by Kokomo City Police. He's 27 years old. A look at his criminal record shed some light on today's arrest. One felony arrest back in 2013. He pled guilty to robbery in exchange for the state dropping 6 other charges, including confinement and theft. Schaffner was sentenced in that case, but court records show at least some of that sentence was suspended. He served some time in a community transition program through Howard County Probation. Then, about 2 weeks ago, the state of Indiana filed a petition to revoke the suspended sentence and instead issued a warrant for his arrest and for him to be held without bond. We're told that arrest today was related to that case. But why the FBI is involved and what else they were looking into today is still uncertain. We talked with the FBI. They told us all of the records at this time are sealed, and it could be days, weeks, even months before we learn why the FBI was here in the first place and what they found. So stay tuned.
All right, thank you, Carrie.
Well, that's going to be the one that segues us into all the drug stuff. And we're going to finish tonight's live out. I have about 7 different videos. And it's extremely strange. So I guess we'll just start here. It's not in any real order. Well, actually, no. I think I do have a rhyme and reason here. Let's see. I got the dates here: 2018, 2020. Okay, let's start here.
Are now facing charges after a big bust in Kokomo. We're talking about a drug bust here. The police department making the arrest as part of Operation Routine Maintenance. That was the name of it. Between January and September, the agency conducted 36 controlled buys. These resulted in 40 charges against 16 people. They include dealing meth, narcotics, marijuana, neglect of a dependent, among other charges. Police also found almost 2 pounds of meth, 3 guns. 5 of the individuals are being charged federally.
About in Howard County ended with more than 50 people in jail. Operation Law and Order started back in May, focusing on meth in the area, and now police have arrested more than a dozen suspected drug dealers, along with multiple people allegedly caught with drugs. During the investigation, officers found meth, heroin, marijuana, syringes, and pills, plus several guns. The Howard County prosecutor says the bust will reduce the amount of drugs on the street. He also added, quote, "Only through aggressive, proactive police work can the community be made safer from the drug epidemic." And in Fisher,
organization primarily operating out of Kokomo, Indiana, now dismantled.
Federal authorities say it was structured like a cartel but operated domestically. They're calling the bust Operation Law and Order. 24 News 8's Elizabeth Choi has all the details.
This was a massive operation. I'm talking 130 officers from federal, state, and local agencies, all involved, raiding 13 locations, including the home right behind me, where, according to federal prosecutors, everything
2018
centered around 720 South Cortland Avenue, where officers say the leader, Reggie Ballantyne, aka Pudge, lived.
There was like 2 armored trucks, DEA. I saw those people. They all were carrying like really big guns.
Samantha Cunningham lives just a couple houses down. She and her brother ran outside after a helicopter flying above shook their house.
He told my brother, who was like, get back, you know, yelling at him. And my brother said he was so scared he didn't know what he'd said. He thought he was just gonna like get on the floor.
Operation Law and Order was getting off to a good start. Police arrested Pudge.
Pudge was responsible for obtaining quantities of drugs, bringing those drugs into the Kokomo area.
During a news conference, federal prosecutor Josh Minkler
Aaron, thank you.
says Pudge got drugs from Pierre Riley of Macon, Georgia. Investigators believe the drugs originated from a Mexican cartel. Authorities say Pudge would use others to help hide, sell, and pick up the drugs. After being tipped off by police, federal investigators began intercepting phone calls. 15 now face federal drug trafficking charges.
They are not drug addicts. These are defendants that are charged that are making money. They are making blood money off of drug addicts.
Officers confiscated more than 17 pounds of methamphetamine,
Damn.
more than 2 pounds of cocaine, 2 ounces of heroin, 122 grams of fentanyl, 2 money counters, 12 vehicles, $37,000 in cash, and 24 firearms. But it wasn't just drug-related activity. In late February, Minkler says Pudge was part of a plot to kill a man he believes stole from the organization.
They hired 2 hitmen, as disclosed in federal documents, from Georgia to come to Kokomo to have that individual killed.
Police again intercepted before it was too late. Neighbors are grateful.
It's finally time somebody stepped in and done stuff about it.
According to federal prosecutors, the first drug trafficking offense carries a minimum 10 years in federal prison, the second 20 years, and the third life without the possibility of parole. For more information on this investigation and those involved, you can head over to our website, which is wishtv.com.
See, that's the part that bothers me is the hit for hire stuff. When you got these drugs involved and all this money that they care about, you know, they'll hire a hitman. And these hitmen came in and we always talk about what the bridge guy's wearing. What is he wearing? What is he wearing? Well, what if he just purchased those clothes? You know, what if he was a hired hit? And yeah, make sure you guys get those likes up. Apparently that's an important thing to my channel. So we're going to have to stay on top of that. So make sure you get those likes up. That's going to start being a thing, I guess. So let's take a look here. Okay, we have 107 likes and 243 people in here. So I need all you guys to get these likes up, like right now. Yeah, what's up with this Jared Fogle? He's from Indiana too? Jeez, man. That's horrible. Thanks, Mindy. Yeah, make sure you guys get these likes up. Apparently, it's really good for my channel. If we're going to be hanging out, you know, it's the least you guys can do. Not sure how it helps my channel, but I know that it does.
All Kokomo officers are now out of the hospital. Some are back on the job after being exposed to a hazardous chemical while trying to serve a search warrant.
24-hour News 8's Elizabeth Choi joins us now live in the newsroom. And Elizabeth, do we know yet what the chemical was?
Dave, not at this time. They're working with state police and have sent it for testing. I can tell you that all 9 officers were released from the hospital this morning, as well as 2 suspects who were then taken to the jail. Although police aren't sure exactly what they're dealing with, they do know that it's not just dangerous, but it's deadly. Police went in and came right back out. Their skin was burning. They were dizzy and had trouble breathing after being exposed to an unknown chemical.
When we made entry, I don't know if they're trying to get rid of it or the suspected chemical or the drugs, but somehow it set off on a reaction. So again, I don't know if it was intentional, and that's what we're looking into.
Police couldn't say what chemicals would cause that kind of reaction, but believe it could have been ingredients used to make drugs.
We're just getting information that there was drug activity going at that residence, possibly, as you say, methamphetamines, numerous sorts of drugs, and that's what we're looking for.
At the time of exposure, the Kokomo Police Department Drug Task Force was executing a search warrant for drug activity in the home. They arrested 6 adults and 1 juvenile after searching the house. News of the bust comes as no surprise to neighbors.
Everybody in the neighborhood knew there was something going on over there because you see cars coming and going, not staying there very long, then leaving.
Man, craziness and hecticness all over. It seems like it's surrounding everybody.
With 9 officers safe and 7 suspects behind bars, neighbors are both relieved and disappointed.
I'm glad they got the people that were drug activity behind bars. Maybe it'll stop. Maybe this neighborhood will get back to normal.
I hate to see them get arrested for it instead of trying to do something with their lives.
Now, all suspects face charges of battery, maintaining a common nuisance, and 1 faces a drug possession charge.
That's horrible.
Depending on what the chemical was, they could face more. We'll have their names, mugshots, and preliminary charges all listed on our website. That's wishtv.com. Live in the newsroom, Elizabeth Choi, 24-hour.
In Howard County so far this year that have died in Afghanistan.
Our streets, our stories. The number of drug overdoses is on a steep climb in one central Indiana county.
What
it's
up?
prompting grassroots efforts to find a solution to the problem. RTV6's Katie Hines brings us the story from Howard County.
Yep.
A growing number of families are experiencing the impact and feeling the tragedy of drug addiction here in Howard County. The coroner confirms that drug overdose deaths are up more than 20% compared to last year. On a fall evening, 4 dozen people gather inside the Cornerstone Christian Center.
When we say jail or dead, isn't there something else?
They're meeting to find solutions.
There are so many acts out there.
It's one of the first community meetings of the Kokomo Help Team. Jennifer Branch and 3 friends launched the grassroots group on social media to raise awareness of what they see as a lack of mental health and addiction resources.
We want addicts to be able, even if they still are using, we're welcoming them here, letting them know that there is people in their community that care about them.
Branch knows what it's like to be in their shoes. She's sober after struggling with opiate addiction for close to a decade. She's still repairing relationships with her 2 sisters, a rift created while she was in the grip of addiction.
It's always in the back of your brain that you need help, that you don't want to live that lifestyle anymore. It's just the fear of taking that step and admitting that you need help.
One of the people listening to the questions and ideas is Howard County Superior Court Judge William Menges. He's created a task force of his own to figure out how to deal with the growing number of addictions. The group of about 55 includes police, probation officers, the coroner, and area hospital executives.
The short term is how do we keep people from killing themselves. Long term is what do we do about the addiction as a whole. The more I hear, the more I listen, the more people can tell me, the better we're going to be able to prepare responses.
Both he and members of this group know the solution to the growing epidemic won't happen overnight. The challenge is determining where to start. In Kokomo, Katie Hines, RTV6.
Well, that's pretty much going to do it, guys. We'll probably hang out here for another five or so minutes, just so we can get some follow up on the chat. But that's everything I put together for you guys. If you have any information you want to discuss or anything you want to point out in regards to the Kokomo crew, Kokomo in general, Delphi, the Delphi case, now would be the perfect time. We could probably fit in another 10 minutes. I didn't expect this live stream to go so quickly, so fast. Yeah, you guys need to start. You need to hit that like button. I'm gonna start getting more like happy. But yeah, all you got to do is scroll your mouse over like 6 inches, click the like button, and then scroll it back over where it was. Coach Carmel. That's awful. You're a poker player, Sonny. Me too. I've won a few tournaments. I used to go to bars and I would play poker to get free tabs when I was younger. I was just naturally good at it. Beat all my family members at poker. Yeah, I'm pretty good at it. I played online poker for a little while. I won't say poker. I played Texas Hold'em. You're welcome, Emily. Yeah, I was excited to do this one. I just knew it was going to be interesting. Might do a part 2. Yes, Frank, please. I need to follow up and learn a little bit more. I have so much information, but I don't have, information on everything. There's certain things I'm lacking on. Yeah, we might. There's a poker game that you can play online with your friends. You just send them the link, and then you guys all just kind of join up at a table. Maybe we can do that one time at a members meeting. Would be fun. Yep, I love Texas Hold'em. The casinos where I live, you can go and you can play sit down. You can play sit down Texas Hold'em. And you can have all your friends at the same table. It's awesome. Just run game all night long. Make some money. And I'm not a gambler either. I hate gambling. Texas Hold'em doesn't seem like gambling to me. Yeah, that's corruption right there. Or a good attorney. One or the other. All right, guys, we're at the 2-hour mark. I want to thank everybody that showed up. Purdue, I want to thank you for being such a great caller, providing the input. Mike the Troll, thank you so much. I hope you're okay with that name. For some reason, I think you said that. Mike, I want to thank you for calling in. I appreciate your input. I really do. And everybody that showed up and who came to support the channel or just kind of chime in or just use it for entertainment value. I appreciate all you guys. It's been a while since I did a Saturday night show. It's about time. Hey, Melissa. Good to see you. Band practice. You guys like my little heart that I put up here? So whenever you put up a crazy comment, that's what I put up for you. That's funny. Kevin Hart. Good old Kevin Hart. You're welcome, Sally. Thanks for showing up. Jari, Susan, D. Sonny, do you like that? Check this out. It's like, what? Excuse me? Oh, that's funny. Sorry, it's the little things that make me laugh. Vanessa, you're welcome. You know, this is the kind of stuff I'd be doing anyway. Like if I didn't have a YouTube channel or whatever, I'd just be looking at all this weird stuff. Might as well do it with you guys. Get some input. Something about Kevin Hart, though. He's just so funny. Yeah. I mean, you really can't gamble, Cole. When you're playing poker, you can't gamble. You know, it's okay to fold them. People hate me because I'll fold them. I don't even care. Sometimes when I have a good hand and I'm reading the group, I'm folding. I don't even care. You know, it's one thing I'm good at is reading the group. I like that one. I think I'm going to make a couple more. Yeah, he's funny. All right, guys. Well, we caught up on the chat. Everybody that showed up, Sonny, all the members, everybody that donated tonight, all the callers. I mean, I really appreciate it. I wasn't planning on doing a show tonight, but when I went down this rabbit hole, it was just something that I had to do. Shout out to As Above, So Below for mentioning the show a little bit earlier. I've been watching his show quite a bit lately. His information's great. You know, you don't have to agree with everybody on everything, you know, to appreciate the value that they provide. All right. Him and I agree on a lot of things. you know, that there was a group under the bridge. You know, you had a bridge guy met the girls around 2:13 on the bridge, and apparently the time of death was around 3:30. So if they weren't under the bridge for an hour, where were they? You know what I mean? So we agree on that, and we're on the same page on that aspect for sure. Thank you, Laura. Jennifer, thank you for becoming a member. We're going to be doing a members meeting here probably tomorrow. No, actually not tomorrow. I'm taking a road trip. So I take that back. Most likely Monday. Almost forgot about that. Michael Jackson's from Gary? Wow. I didn't know that. All right, guys. Have a safe rest of your weekend. Much love from the Sleuth Intuition channel and me personally. I enjoy putting on these live streams and having all you guys take part. You are the show. Just the platform, but you are the show, and I appreciate everybody that participates and supports Libby and Abby and trying to find justice for them. Perpetual pressure works, you know, and I'm a firm believer in that. And the way you guys are dedicated to those girls and finding justice and focusing on that one case is extremely important. And I think we're going to have a victory. And in that victory, we can all share it together. And, you know, I just wish that we could do something. And I hope that this perpetual pressure that we're putting on the bridge guy together is something that we can all be proud of one day. Okay. So thank you again. Have a great night. See ya.